Hello and welcome back to NoStress English, the podcast that helps you speak English with more confidence and less stress. I'm Alec.
And I'm Maya. It's so great to have you with us for episode 9. Today we're talking about something I think almost every English learner experiences.
That's right. The title of today's episode is Why You Sound Too Formal in English and How to Fix It. Have you ever felt like your English is, a little robotic?
Exactly. Like you learned all the correct grammar and vocabulary from a textbook, but when you talk to native speakers, something just feels off. You're not alone. It is a super common feeling.
It really is. So in this episode, we're going to explore why that happens, and more importantly, give you some simple, practical tips to sound more natural and relaxed in your everyday conversation.
So, Alex, let's start with the big question. Why do so many intermediate learners sound so formal?
I think the biggest reason is simple. It's what you learn in school. Textbooks and classrooms have to teach you the correct or proper rules of English.
Right, the foundational rules.
Exactly. But real, everyday spoken English is very different. It's faster, it's more relaxed, and it often breaks those formal rules. Native speakers don't talk like textbooks.
That's such a good point. And I think another reason is the fear of being rude. Learners often choose more formal words because they think it sounds more polite.
You want to be respectful, so you say something like, I would be most grateful if you could assist me.
Which is grammatically perfect, but in a casual chat with a coworker, it might sound a little strange. They'd probably just say, hey, could you help me with this?
Exactly. So let's get into some concrete examples. We're going to give you a common formal phrase that learners use, and then a more natural, casual alternative.
Okay, I'll start. A classic one is how we greet people. Sometimes in emails, learners might write, Dear Sir or Madam.
Very formal, almost like a letter from the 19th century.
Right. A much more natural way, even in a professional email, is just, Hi, Alex, or Hello, Maya. If you don't know the person's name, you can say, Hello, hiring team, or Hi there.
Okay, what about making requests? I often hear learners say, I would like to request, for example, I would like to request a glass of water.
Again, perfectly correct. But if you're at a restaurant, you'd sound much more natural saying, Could I get a glass of water, please? Or even just, I'll have a glass of water, please.
That's a great one, and this is a perfect time for our first listener practice moment. We want you to say the phrase out loud with us. Ready? Repeat after Maya. Could I get a glass of water, please?
Could I get a glass of water, please? Great job. It feels more relaxed, right?
Definitely. Okay, my turn. How about expressing an opinion? The textbook phrase is something like, in my opinion, the movie was excellent.
Yeah, we almost never say, in my opinion, unless we're in a formal debate or want to sound very serious.
So what's the natural alternative?
You'd just say, I think the movie was great, or I thought the movie was great. You can also say, I feel like, for a softer opinion, like, I feel like it was a little too long.
Okay, listener practice time again. Let's try that one. Repeat. I thought the movie was great.
I thought the movie was great. Fantastic. Another huge part of sounding natural is using contractions. This is a big one. Learners are often taught to say the full words, I am, you are, it is, do not.
Right, but in spoken English, we almost always use contractions. It's not I am going to the park, it's I'm going to the park. Not I do not know, but I don't know. This might be the single fastest way to sound more fluent. Just start using contractions like I'm, your, it, don't, can't, and wouldn't.
Totally. Let's practice one. Instead of it is a beautiful day, try saying it with a contraction. Ready? It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. See, it just flows better.
Okay, one more. Apologizing. A very formal apology is, I sincerely apologize for the delay.
You might write that in a very serious business email maybe, but if you're 5 minutes late to meet a friend?
Yeah, no, you just say, I'm so sorry I'm late, or sorry about that. It's simpler, and it sounds more genuine, actually.
So the key here seems to be choosing simpler, more direct words. Instead of furthermore, just say also. Instead of therefore, say so.
Exactly. Now, Alex, this brings up an important point. Does sounding casual mean you have to be rude or too direct?
Not at all. And that's our next topic, how to be polite without sounding like a robot. Native speakers use a lot of what we call softening language.
Ooh, I love that term, softening language. What are some examples?
We use words like just, maybe, a little bit, or phrases like I was wondering if you could to make requests or statements softer. For example, instead of saying I need the report,
That sounds a little demanding.
right, a softer way to say it would be hey, I was just wondering if you've had a chance to finish that report, or could you send me the report when you have a second?
That sounds so much friendlier. You're still asking for the same thing, but the feeling is completely different. The word just is so powerful. I just wanted to ask, or I was just thinking.
It's a magic word for sounding polite and casual. So instead of I disagree, you could say, I'm not so sure about that. Or I see what you mean, but I kind of feel differently.
Let's do a listener practice for that. It's really useful. Let's try this softer request. Repeat after me. I was just wondering if you could help me.
I was just wondering if you could help me. Perfect.
Okay, so we've talked about how to sound more casual, but Alex, are there situations where formal English is still the right choice?
Absolutely. It's all about context. Formal English is important and necessary in certain situations.
Like what?
Well, for things like a job interview, a formal business presentation, academic writing for a university, or a cover letter for a job application. In those cases, using more formal language shows respect and professionalism.
That makes sense. So you wouldn't use contractions in your university thesis.
Probably not. The key is to know your audience and your situation. What we're talking about today is for 80% of your daily life, talking to colleagues, friends, ordering food, asking for directions.
That's a great distinction to make. We're not saying to throw away formal English, just to add this more relaxed, natural style to your toolkit.
Exactly. It's about having options and choosing the right one for the moment.
Okay, I feel like we've covered a lot of great ground. Should we do a quick recap for the main points for our listeners?
Let's do it. So, tip number 1 for sounding more natural is to use contractions. Instead of I am, say I'm.
Tip number 2, choose simpler, more common words. I think instead of in my opinion. So instead of therefore.
Tip 3 is to learn common conversational phrases for things like requests or apologies, like can I get instead of I would like to request.
And tip 4, use softening language to be polite without being formal. Add words like just or phrases like I was just wondering if.
And our final piece of advice is to listen. Pay attention to how native speakers talk in movies, TV shows, and podcasts like this one. Notice the words they use and try to copy them.
Yes, listening is your best teacher. And please don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's part of the process. The most important thing is to communicate and connect with people.
Well said, Maya. Connection over perfection. Always. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of No Stress English.
We hope you found it helpful. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments what's a formal phrase you used to say. We'd love to hear from you.
And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Until then, keep practicing and don't stress.
Bye, everyone. Happy learning.